Hi everyone, we're so excited tonight because we have our special people here. Jen, author J.L. Rothstein, obviously is a very special, dear person to us. And obviously this person is special and dear, Florence Carmela.
Hello.
And she's the engine that makes it run. And I'm the little steam that comes
No.
out. We have a special guest tonight of KUNC Radio in Colorado, the NPR radio station in Colorado, Michael Lyle Jr. How are you, Michael?
I'm doing great, guys. Thanks so much for having me on this afternoon. Love and peace from the Rocky Mountains. It's a great time. I'm glad to be on board with you guys this afternoon.
Oh, thank you so much. Beautiful state of
Yes.
Colorado. How's the weather over there right now?
The weather is not Colorado weather. Let me just tell you, it's been pretty. It's May. It's March 26th, guys. It's feeling like it's June 26th. That's how the
Wow, you're
weather's been
so
out here.
lucky. You're
It's
so
in the
lucky.
90s out here. We're not supposed to be this hot right now. It's supposed to be in the mid 50s, maybe in the 60s, but not near 90 like it was these last couple of weeks out here. It's
Wow.
not that type of environment. This Colorado, but people will tell you no, it's not supposed to be this warm right now.
Wow. Yeah, here we had a couple of days where it was like spring, the 70s, right, Jen? It
Yeah.
was really nice, and then it got cold again. It got rainy again, at least here. Little
Yep.
snow. It's
Uh,
crazy.
yeah, covered just enough, like the grass and all your cars and everything, but it didn't stay. And then today was like in the 60s here today and sunny. It was
Yes,
nice
yeah.
today.
Today was really nice. I opened the windows a little bit. It
You'll be
felt
closing
good.
them later. It's gonna drop.
I have my air conditioner on right now. I never turn my air conditioner on in
Wow.
March. It usually comes on in June or even late May, early June. Not on March 26th. I might blast an AC right now, but that's the case.
That is
That's
crazy.
crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy how it changes from state to state.
hmm
I have family who live in North Carolina, and they're just like, yeah, it's summer. Like, not really. And they're like, yeah, it's really nice here.
Do you know where it's not cold?
Oh, here we go. Here we go.
Shout out to all my Cali people and
In
Amy
Florida, in
Trask.
Miami.
Amy Trask, we should be eating ice cream at Ghirardelli's in San
She
Francisco,
keeps
Amy.
inviting us.
We
to come
gotta
to
go. We
California.
gotta
It's
go.
like, come back.
Gotta
come
go
back.
now.
Yeah, but
We are.
Michael, it's interesting. I love people in radio because they're very unique compared to television people, which seem to have kind of a formula to get on. Everyone has kind of their own story. How did you start in radio?
I started off in radio when I went. My first paid salary position was at ESPN eons ago in Connecticut, where they're headquartered. I was actually a print writer for many years. I was writing for newspapers and magazines and online. And I got the job at ESPN when I was working in broadcast. I started as a production assistant there, and that was my first taste of radio work. I was there for 6 years. I worked behind the scenes mostly, but I developed a personality by working with the radio people there for all that time I spent with them. And then eventually I branched out of that network and started doing local radio across Connecticut, and it enhanced my product and being a journalist and being a reporter and a news anchor. So I got the best of all the worlds being in that one state, learning all the different angles of being a radio broadcaster.
Who were some of the people that really? Because when I was a little kid and ESPN started, I literally thought the moon had just risen. I was so happy. We would watch reruns of Riverside against Irvine basketball games. I mean, we just thought this is the greatest thing in the world. Were there any people that really stood out to you, that really touched you and helped you in your career when you were there?
Well, I learned from a lot of folks there. People that I still stay in touch with now. One gentleman, his name is Freddie Coleman. He has a talk show on the network. I worked with him for a while when I was there. I did work with Stephen A. Smith for a minute while I was there. I did run into him a few times there, so he was another one. But I learned the basics of radio by listening to other people and learning how to develop my own craft. They always teach us in broadcasting, don't just listen to radio or watch TV. I was told, study it. Study what they do. Try to implement your own style that it fits for you, where you're not copying somebody else. You're learning, but you're going to implement your style that's going to make you unique in your own way, and it stands out from everybody else. That's how I learned.
What was kind of once you got your thing going, what was kind of your shtick when you were young and you're first starting? What was your identity?
I wanted to be a sports reporter because I was a big sports junkie. I still am a sports junkie, even though out here my role's somewhat changed a little bit. I still cover sports, but I was a bona fide sports junkie. I played sports when I was in high school, so I wanted to be a guy that could go to all those big, cool events and sit in the stands or sit courtside or in the press box and get paid to watch a game and not be a fan and just enjoy writing about it and just saying that, hey, I was at this event this other night, sitting with all the players and all the pros and all the different celebrities and whatnot. It's like cool perks to be a part of that, and that's what got me into this business, because I really want to be a part of that. And it has taken me to some of those places over the last several years. It has.
How did you get to Denver? What happened to make you go to Denver?
Different lifestyle, more money.
I was
There you go.
going to say, I bet it was a better offer.
Yeah, I think many of us would agree with that these days. When you get better offers to make a living, you definitely don't want to look down on them and just take the opportunity. I was in Connecticut for 20 years before I moved out here. Now I'm going to my 4th year here in Colorado, and believe me, I've had no regrets. It's my first time living on another side of the country, because I'm always going to be an East Coast guy, but coming out here, I wouldn't say it was a culture shock, but I was looking forward to the opportunity to be a part of this, and I have not had any inkling of a doubt that this was a bad move being here. I really am loving it here in this state, and it's beautiful, like you mentioned. And it's a big entertainment entity. There's a lot of sports here, a lot of concerts, a lot of events, a lot of outdoor, a lot of recreation. You won't ever be bored here, and that's the thing about being here. And the lifestyle here, I think, is a little more laid back and chill. I know, James, you're from the West Coast. I'm sure you can relate to how that vibe is, right? It's a little bit different than the East Coast and having it fast-paced. Not like that.
Everyone thinks
He reminds me all the time.
Everyone thinks I'm high. You know, that we say, why aren't you doing? You know, it's just, you know, we get to things when we want to, and we're kind of whatevers. And yeah, I love the vibe. And Denver's and Colorado's a very underrated music scene. There's a lot of groups and a lot of concerts that are great, and there's some great venues.
The reason I guessed.
Ever been to Red Rocks Amphitheater?
Oh, yeah.
Here.
Yeah, beautiful.
Oh.
I was going to say the reason I guessed that you left Connecticut for a better offer is because I worked for Cumulus Media, and I worked for Weeby 108 and WICC.
I know those two pretty well.
Yes.
I know one guy who I know is one of my colleagues who I think works at WICC. You might know him.
What's
Paul
his name?
Paul Pacelli.
Yeah, I know Paul. I've met
I
Paul.
used to work with Paul for many years when I was in yes, I know Paul
Yeah,
very in touch.
Yeah, I worked more behind the scenes. I was part of the street team, so I did a lot of live radio events, and I worked a lot on the weekends, and you know, there was some traveling involved, which was fun. But the reason I say that is because I know when I was working there, a lot of the, let's say, DJs or radio personalities did leave, like to go to New York and other states because the better offers. So I'm not even surprised. That's why I said that. I bet he left for a bigger deal.
Yeah, I mean,
which is understandable.
Yeah, everybody looks at Connecticut as a stomping ground, as a place to learn and grow, and then before you know it, you move into a bigger city, bigger market, more opportunity. But a lot of people wonder, how did you go from Connecticut? Like you just asked, how did you go from Connecticut to Colorado? Well, there wasn't any opportunities in New York either, where I'm from. So, I mean, the best opportunity was what was available was this, and that's why I'm here now.
Yeah, it's very obviously with all the changes with radio and podcasting and everything that has happened, the jobs are even getting a little bit leaner. ESPN's had a couple big layoffs, and it's a tough go. So when you do get a good paying job, you do what you're doing. You get roots, and you make it happen. You get a nice paycheck and get some stability. Because boy, it's been a little shocking a little bit with what's happened in radio the last 10 years.
You saw what happened recently with CBS Radio. They are
that shocked me because
I grew up listening to CBS Radio for years when I was young, and that's one of the radio stations I used to listen to was WCBS in New York. They gutted that operation, and now they decided to cut CBS Radio News loose. It's like, wow, really?
In San Francisco Bay Area, we have radio is a huge thing. I've been listening to talk radio since I was like 9. Right. And I would listen to the news, I would listen to music, I'd listen to sports talk. You become addicted to it. And it's just, these it's so entertaining and so knowledgeable, and it's just fun to listen to. So when I saw a lot of these guys getting let go, or all of a sudden 4 of them would retire on the same day, magically, and you have all these things. It's real disappointing. I'm disappointed the way things go, but it is what it is.
And I know your station out there, I remember, was KGO, was a prominent station that they also decided to cut loose. I was saying to myself, how do you let go of a legendary station like KGO? I mean, people in San Francisco, I don't know much about San Fran, but I know that was a station that people turned to for a lot of news and information out there.
Yeah, it was
really
top 3. And what was weird is they fired the whole station. They just literally let go of everybody. And then one of the stations, I believe KGO now is 100% gambling. It's sports gambling.
Wow.
It's the Visa Network, the one that Brent Musburger owns. That's what they're turning into now. Yeah, because that's the thing now with sports too. It's all about betting and gambling. It's like now a big business for gamblers.
Yeah.
And for years, gambling was bad, and we're going to keep people out of the Hall of Fame forever. But when we can make money in it, okay, it's good.
Not so bad.
We like this.
That's like the college athletes getting paid now. NIL now. The college athletes are getting paid to play sports. There was a time that never happened. Now here we are. College athletes are getting paid to play sports.
High schoolers with Lamborghinis. I mean, it's just unbelievable.
Can you imagine that? We never where are we in the twilight zone? Like, this was never the kid growing up. You used to go for a scholarship, but now you're getting paid to play. I'm like, am I in the wrong field?
We were happy to get pizza and Cokes. Yeah, I mean.
Go back to the 50 year eligibility to play a sport in college now or something. I don't know.
And then they could stay for 7 or 8 years. I mean,
they don't have to go to pro. They don't have to play pro sports now. They can get paid going to college now. They don't have to go to the pros.
Oh, life has changed too much for me. Speaking of changing lives, Florence, we have a lot of stories that we've been talking to, and we got some new things going on. Why don't you update us a little bit on the Guthrie situation?
Yes, and everyone who's been watching us knows we've been covering the Nancy Guthrie case from day one, from the very beginning. And her daughter, the famous television broadcaster Savannah Guthrie, finally broke her silence and did an interview on Today, her show, the show that she's on. And boy, it was so emotional that the person interviewing her, Coda Hotby, who's her friend and a former co-host, broke down through the whole interview. She was so emotional. It was very hard to watch. My heart goes out to that family. I can't even imagine.
I can't imagine.
I think about my own mother. About my own mother, and it's just heartbreaking. But some of the things that stood out to me were that she described her mom as somebody who, lived with pain. She could most days not, barely walk to the mailbox. She wasn't a woman who, I guess they had thought maybe in the beginning she wandered off, because some people within that age group sometimes wander off. And that wasn't the case. She said her mother would not be able to just freely walk. She lived with back pain. She lived with excruciating pain. She was a woman who was not in good health. She needed medication to live. And the more she said that and the more she talked about that, I thought, God, she was saying how she's up at night thinking about all the possibilities, how scared her mother must have been, and what could possibly have taken place that night. And I just don't know how you live moment to moment with those images in your mind. But it was interesting to me the way she described her mom. Obviously a woman of faith, a woman who was a good person, who did a lot of good for people. But at the same time, she was saying that they knew right away that this wasn't a situation of her wandering off. They knew something very, very bad had happened. There was blood in the home. There was blood at the doorstep. She just said that they just knew. They knew right away that something had happened. And again, my heart goes out to the family, and that was a hard interview to watch.
Yeah, we'll get to Michael in a minute, but JL, Jen, what do you think happened? What's kind of your vibe about this whole thing? Because this whole case, it's almost like you kind of throw your hands up. I've never seen a case in the recent history of it like this.
It's true, especially with the media coverage on it. It's had a lot of media coverage from everything from podcasters and influencers to the network news channels that were out there for weeks on end trying to cover this. It is pretty amazing. You know, I always go back to what the people in law enforcement say, which is that somebody knows something. Somebody out there knows something. And so you have to rely on one of those people to speak up and come forward and talk about it. But it is pretty amazing with the number of eyes that were on it in this day and age where everyone has a camera, everyone has a phone, you can't get into a car accident without somebody getting out with their phone on and filming it. I mean, we're film crazy in this country in particular, and it's just amazing to me that no one has any idea what happened to her or how she got out of that house, and has nothing to show for it in an area that was relatively remote, you know, compared to like New York City, right? It's not like, okay, well, there's a billion people here, and so we missed this one. I mean, this was a relatively remote area comparatively, and it's just amazing to me that nobody has anything, but somebody knows something. Somebody knows whoever these people are, and now you're going to have to rely on a cold case expert to come in, unfortunately, and look into this and look at it from a different perspective, because we've been all over the map. It's a family member, it's not a family member, it's a neighbor, it's not a neighbor, it's a stranger abduction, it's not a stranger abduction. I mean, you've gone through the whole series of what potentially happened here. And so I think it's going to take somebody to come in and look at it with completely fresh eyes and not have any bias towards what they're looking at, and try to come up with some idea of where to go to next, and maybe to do it without the scrutiny of everybody looking at them, right? Like to be able to come into that.
And I feel like the most confused were the cops, the
Yeah.
investigators, the people on the case
Yeah.
seem to be everywhere and all over the place, and it's almost as if they had to start all over again. Like everyone talked about the welcome mat, which we had talked about from day one. Why wasn't that mat picked up, as they say, bagged and tagged? Why wasn't it taken away? Letting all these people like Nancy Grace, and I love Nancy Grace, shout out to her, letting people walk all over the crime scene, letting people walk in and out of that home, deliveries made to the house, the Amazon drivers.
Well,
And
I think
another
it speaks to where it happened too, right, Florence? Like, again, like
Yes.
if we think about this, if that was New York City, that place would have
Oh.
been roped off. Nobody would have been in there. You would have had the best detectives down there. You would have had them running that thing. They would, you know, they would have been running that thing down. They would have been well organized about how they handled it. They would have had a professional person speaking to the media. So now you're in this sort of remote location. You're dealing with a county. There's a sheriff's office, and he's political. And it just, you felt it. You saw the difference, right? You saw the difference when you're talking about cops that are used to dealing with crimes like this and cops that aren't. And I think that's what we witnessed.
And I said that to James from the beginning. I said, is it just that they didn't have the experience? You know how like in the South when it snows, they don't know what to do because
Right.
it's not a usual thing.
Everything
They
breaks.
don't have the equipment. Everything shuts down.
They can't function. Nobody goes anywhere.
Exactly. I was just wondering, you know, and
I think
nothing
that's what we
against the
saw.
South.
I think that's
I was just
exactly what we
wondering
saw.
if maybe they just didn't have the experience, because think about it. And a lot of former FBI agents, people who have worked in law enforcement, the crime unit for several years, all said, where do you know another story where an 84-year-old woman is kidnapped? You know, and then of course the ransom notes, apparently the FBI doesn't even know where they came from.
Yeah.
They don't even know if they're real. The FBI still doesn't know what to make of the ransom notes.
Yeah, it's
that
crazy.
boggles my mind.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Michael, being in the media and being with people that obviously are maybe even know the Guthries, what do you think is kind of going on here, and what do you think kind of happened?
I just wanted to know why, of everybody, why was she targeted? That, I believe, has been my numero uno $50,000 question. Why did you target her? What does Savannah Guthrie have on you and her family that you had to target her? I'm still trying to wrap my head around this whole why her thing, because I still don't get it. Why would you target Samantha Guthrie? What has she done? I don't
So
think
do you
she's
think?
done. No, I just
You
don't.
think
I don't.
it's because of the daughter? You think it's completely tied to being related to Savannah?
Well, that's just it. I don't know. My thing is that why are you targeting her? Because we know
Yeah.
Samantha. We know she's a prominent figure on network news, but why are you targeting her? Is my question. Is what I'm asking. Like, why did you go after her? Why? What did she do to you, or what kind of whatever you have on her, or whatever she has on you that caused you to be this evil to do this? And why would you pick on her mother?
I know.
See,
Yeah.
one thing about being a journalist, guys, and I think we can all relate to this, we cover a lot of topics daily. I know I do out here in Colorado. News happens all the time. We talk about some of the most sensitive topics, some of the most gut-wrenching topics. Sometimes you are a journalist, and sometimes you are a human being. In this particular case, this is a human side of me that says, why did this happen?
Yeah.
Why did you target her? Why did you kidnap her mother? What did you want with her? What possessed you to behave this way? And why are you dragging everybody else into this mess now? And most
Yeah.
importantly, why are you causing her heartache and pain? Because she has a career going. Now, I don't know the other side of the story that has not been told about this, but my attitude is that from what I'm seeing, I am just trying to get to the why this happened. Why did you do this? We
Yeah,
all
that-
know in America right now, why in the what did you do this?
Yeah, I think that's the number one question, and usually motive is either love, jealousy, money, things like that.
Those are the three.
So, yeah, those are the
No
things that you
particular
kind
order,
of
by
gotta-
the way.
Right.
Yeah,
No
oh,
particular order.
definitely.
Well, and you
Speaking-
talked about why would they go after her mother? Maybe because they couldn't get to her, right? She's locked up in New York City. She's in some high rent apartment. She's got security. No one can get to
Well, why
Savannah Guthrie.
Savannah Guthrie, though? I mean, you have
It
other
could have been
people.
a stalker.
But
He
I'm
could
just
have been
saying,
a stalker.
But why her, though? That's what I'm trying to figure out. We know she's a figure. She's a well-known personality. But you got other celebrities and billionaires out there.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to figure out what is the connection to Savannah Guthrie that you had to single her out for this.
Yeah, she's
I-
not doing hard-hitting news stories either. She's
No.
not out there like
No.
outing
She's
people.
not.
She's not doing hard-hitting things, which is why I thought maybe potentially that it was a stalker, because it wouldn't make sense that it was somebody coming after her, because it was like, she's not doing hard-hitting news stories. She's doing fluff stories. She's doing, she's interviewing authors about books.
Regularly on our stations, on our
Yeah.
network. It
Yeah.
does.
She's doing a fun morning
Yeah,
TV
fun,
show.
light,
It's very
light.
lighthearted.
Yeah.
And it is now very clear. And again, Nancy Grace was talking about this the other night. Whoever this was or whoever they were at that house before that night.
Yeah.
They were there. There's
They were
video.
scheming well before. They were plotting this well before it happened.
Yeah.
Right.
An 84-year-old woman. And like James always says, did you think taking her was going to be easy? She's an 84-year-old
I know.
woman. She could barely
I
walk.
know.
She
No.
needed medication to live. It's not like taking a young 20-something
Right.
girl,
Right.
which is, oh my God, which is horrible enough. That's a nightmare of a whole
Right.
nother sort.
None of it's
But we're
easy,
talking
but
an
that one's
84-year-old
particularly hard. I agree with you.
Yeah.
That one's particularly hard to take an 84-year-old woman who can't walk properly, who has medical issues. That one's particularly hard that you would not know unless you dealt with the elderly, unless you had somebody that you've dealt with before.
Well, JL made a
Now,
good point too, by the way. If this happened in New York, where Savannah Guthrie works, where NBC's
Oh,
located,
yeah.
you better believe this would have been put on lockdown. No way this would have
Yeah.
gone on for months, weeks, and months. That person, whoever it was, would have been caught just like that. It
Yeah.
would have been an easy. Would have been talking about law and order type style justice.
Oh yeah,
Not
yeah.
to be funny
Oh,
about it, but
yeah.
I agree.
Absolutely. Speaking of justice, it looks like our favorite Bachelorette
Uh-oh.
Taylor Frankie Paul.
Taylor Frankie Paul, and you know how me and Joan Rivers don't like these three names. We always worry about women with three names, but
Or serial killers. Serial
yeah,
killers
or-
also have three names.
Yep. Well, they
Yeah.
have to because of people in the olden days. They sued people because let's say you're John Smith. Well, there's a lot of John
Yeah.
Smiths, and people were saying, "Well, did you do it?" So that's why they added all the middle names. But
John Doe Smith now.
yeah, John Doe Smith. But she has now been questioned for a third domestic violence incident, and it's funny because I guess her and her following are trying to get a slanderous type thing saying that she's the victim in all of this, that she was gaslit, that she was, he was the toxic one. You're just seeing the end, things like that.
She's getting
And
money, James. She is going to get money
Oh,
from ABC. I guarantee it. She's
Oh, yeah.
getting
They
a
are-
deal from them. She
and
is going to
that's
get
what
a settlement.
And that's
For
what I'm
sure.
saying. I think she's going to get a little bit of money, not a lot,
She
but
is.
I think the guys
To
that
go
are going
away.
to get the money is the guys. Because
Yeah.
a lot of them are now threatening to sue. What a mess!
Yeah.
What an absolute
hot
mess!
mess.
Yeah. What do you think about this, Michael? Have you ever heard of anything like
I
this?
have not heard. Let me just say this though. There seems to be always something with these reality TV shows, don't you? Isn't it something? If it's not the Real Housewives series, it's the Bachelor or Bachelorette series. It seems like all these reality shows have some sort of underlying drama that goes on behind the scenes that eventually comes out to the light, and then we're saying, well, must be those reality shows at it again. So here we are, another case
Yeah.
of a reality show having some drama. But no, this is really messy, and like JL said, yeah. Somebody's gonna be walking away with a few bucks from ABC
Oh,
because
yeah.
Absolutely.
when you play
Their
with their
insurance.
they don't like that. And especially
Right.
if they're signing contracts. There's a thing called a contractual agreement. So I'm sure if they sign some contracts before this series or this show had to go on air and they're not getting paid, guess what? I'm taking you to court. I want my money.
Yep.
Run the checks.
And what's funny is there's always 4 or 5 stars that come out of these shows. They're either weird
Yeah.
or they're very sexual or something like that.
Crazy.
So
She's
this
the one you don't
guy,
expect either. It's like, who? Huh?
yeah, and the show, and like JL talked about, the show's been taped, so
Yeah,
they
it's in the
already
can.
kind of know. Yeah, they know who the stars are,
Yep.
and they're probably the ones that want to sue because they're getting, you know,
They're not getting
but-
their own show now because it's always the next person that wins that gets their own show. But you cannot tell me that ABC and Disney did not know about this. This video has been out there. They knew about this. They didn't care. They wanted the ratings. They did it deliberately. They can reap what they've sown now. They knew this was out there.
Bingo.
There's no way. There's no way that they didn't know. They knew it and they wanted to push the envelope and see, okay, yeah, let's see what we can get away with because this lady's a hot mess. She is absolutely a hot mess and everyone will love it and we'll get ratings and we'll make money and that's all we care about. And now everyone's standing back being like, whoa, wait a minute, this is not okay. And by the way, there's a child in the room. Like, no, this is just not, we have to stop now. That's where the pushback comes from, is that you finally crossed the line, you pushed it, and you finally crossed the line, and now people are turned off by you. But this is a lot of money. They filmed this thing. Now they've got the guys that are trying to sue saying, I was supposed to get the next show. They've got the women trying to sue to say they would have gotten the next one after The Bachelorette. And you've got her suing saying, hey, wait a minute. You knew about this because the very first episode of the show shows her getting arrested again. So it's, in her mind, she's saying, I was all out there. You knew everything about me and promised me this, and now you're ripping it away. So ABC is going to have to open their checkbook. There's going to be a lot of payments going around.
Mickey Mouse
That's why
got
they
to
have-
some money to people now.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, yeah. Now, this is one of the craziest cases. I'm in the medical field, so, and I'm telling you, we used to always say, I remember, is that some of the craziest people I've ever met are doctors. I mean, some are wild, and I'm not going to name them. I don't want to out anybody, but I remember we owned a sleep lab, and we were sitting there, and one of the psychiatrists called up, and he goes, Jim, I need a sleep study, and I go, yeah, okay, we'll sneak in, Wednesday or something. Oh, what's wrong? And he goes, I can't sleep, and I'm literally going effing crazy. I'm losing my mind. And then you hear the patient walking in, being entered into his office while he's talking to him. I gotta go. I'm like, oh my God. And here's a guy saying he's going crazy and he's got to talk to his next patient. But
That makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Oh God.
The crazier, the crazier.
But in Hawaii, an anesthesiologist had a wife. I don't think they've been married a long time. And let me get their names right for the sake of being correct. And this has made headlines because the video came out and it is horribly disturbing. Ariel Koenig, there's a trial that went on, and It's unbelievable. The husband, I guess she was flirting with one of her, talking sexual with one of her, co-workers, and he found out. He got really mad. So they ended up going to counseling, and they're trying to redo it. So what do you do when you go into counseling, and you're trying to make up with your lover? You go on a hike on a cliff. So that's what they did. They went on a hike on a cliff.
Somebody went over. I don't know this story, but somebody went over, I'm guessing.
Well, what he did is he grabbed her, and she thought he was teasing. So she just giggled, and then she realized he's like really grabbing me. So she realized this guy's trying to kill me. So she starts screaming, and she falls to the ground, which was smart. She doesn't try to fight him. She just literally falls to the ground. They're on this cliff. So he says, okay, I have plan B. He pulls out a syringe that obviously had anesthesia medicines because he's an anesthesiologist. He tries to stick her. So she's trying to, he's got a plan 3, plan C. He grabs a rock and just starts hitting her on the head. So finally, all these people are dialing 911. They're on the hike. They're going, this dude's trying to off this lady. So they go to her. Oh my gosh, they got video of it now. She walked down the cliff, and blood is streaming down her. She can barely talk. The ambulance gets there. They save her, very close to passing away. They save her. And now the guy's saying that it was self-defense. It was all this other stuff.
It was self-defense. Okay.
Okay.
I told my family years and years and years ago, I don't climb. I don't jump out of stuff.
I don't go in the wilderness. I don't go in the wilderness either.
There's crazy people around too, by the way, because that's what's happening in here. When you get around those kinds of folks, they get those ideas generating, and then it's not going to end well. That's why you don't get in that predicament in the first place.
It's so sad because when we grew up, I grew up in a naive time in the 80s, and you trusted everybody. I mean, it was
especially your loved ones.
I hitchhiked. I mean, as a kid, I hitchhiked.
That's very California, James.
Yeah,
because I think, Michael, if you grew up in New York City, I grew up in Boston. We didn't hitchhike. We didn't fight for our lives. We didn't trust anyone. We didn't trust anyone.
We were taught better than that. Don't get in the car.
Yeah.
We didn't hitchhike.
We were taught that way, but we knew it was okay.
Yeah, East
so
Coast,
we would take. I mean, we trusted everybody.
Maybe it's a West Coast thing. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a total California thing. Hitchhiking, so we would go to the lake, and we would go all the Lake Berryessa and all this stuff. But it's amazing nowadays. You got to watch out for cops. They're in a bunch of scandals. You got to watch out for teachers because they're doing their thing with the kids. I mean, it's just it is just, I don't know. I'm not the lily white kid next door. I've done some things that probably wasn't too but has it kind of been a culture shock after a while for you guys about just how crazy things have become?
Yes, it has. I think so, because I just think we're living in different times now. It's different generations. Like you just mentioned that you used to be able to trust people back in the 80s. Now you don't know who you can trust. Doesn't matter where you are in this universe because there's so much drama. You never know what's going to happen, and there's like the person next to you. You don't know what's going to happen, what that person's walk of life has been like. You got to always be vigilant out here in these streets. Just don't know.
I feel like it's not that much worse. It's just that we're all seeing it now. There's no borders. I mean, when we were younger, we didn't know what happened in California. Like,
True.
I grew up in Boston. I didn't necessarily know what was going on in Connecticut. There were people that were kidnapped, raped, murdered. I didn't necessarily know about that unless I read it, like
social media.
But social media, it's all close now. And you hear about it everywhere. You just feel like it's surrounded. Like, oh my goodness, look at all these murders. Look at all these kidnappings. Look at all these awful things. But they were always there. It was just only your local channel carried your local news. So I feel like it's just that we're subjected to it constantly 24/7 if you stay in that news cycle, and it just feels like it's everywhere. And as far as like the weirdos out there in the world, they've all found each other, right? This is the other thing that happened on the internet, right?
They found their
They found their
people.
They
people.
found their people.
They found their people, and like all these weirdos have other fellow weirdos everywhere else. It's like, oh, it's normal because I know 10 other people that think crazily like I do. So that's not helping either. That's compounding this issue. And so, yeah, those two things.
I think that's
have made
partially
it
true,
strange.
but I think I've never, and when I was in school, I never saw the things that were coming. When I was an athletic director, we had a student that wanted to pull a gun on us. I mean, I didn't even see a gun, when I was in school. I mean, and it's just insane, I think. And the problem that I'm having is with the younger generation, how they're treating each other.
Bingo.
I mean, and they are just, the bullying is evil, and just the mean-spirited kids killing, unaliving their friends because they're jealous of them. And
Cheerleaders.
Yeah, the cheerleaders. I mean, the cheerleader moms trying to murder I mean, it's just crazy what's going on. And I think it is worse. I think it is. We are subjected to it more, but there was a thing today that a girl now had a string of 12 to 14-year-olds that she was doing as a teacher. And, I mean, and it just went for months. And it just, I don't know. Maybe Napa High,
That's
obviously.
surprising. That's surprising that things are going on longer. Like something like that, you would have thought would have leaked out. But I do feel like, I don't know. I grew up in the city. I feel like there were drugs, there was murder, there were guns everywhere, all around. Like we took public transportation to high school. Like so, I do feel like that was all around even when I was younger. And when you were growing up, like your parents had to treat you to be street smart. Like you have to be smart. You have to pay attention to where you are. You have to pay attention to your surroundings. You don't go somewhere you're not familiar with. Don't go alone. Like this whole thing where I see the thing that bothers me most in this last 20 years is the number of women that get left by their friends in a bar and something happens, or they walk alone through an alley. It's like we never did that ever. Even then, it was like you do not go home alone. You do not walk through an alley by yourself. You do not leave your friends behind. And that happens all the time in this country. No one's learning these lessons of like, there's a reason that you travel in packs and in groups. And we still don't learn that lesson, even today. And the one in the New York City one or wherever that was this week with the poor girl that got Chicago, the poor girl that got shot in the back of the head, he popped out with a gun and they all ran and left each other. It's like, stay together. Like this is not that would have kept her from dying, but this whole idea that we leave somebody behind, that we scatter, that we leave our friends, that seems to be prevalent even today, even though we've supposedly learned all these lessons and we have all these lessons from social media.
You brought up
Go ahead. I'm sorry, James. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Michael. Go ahead.
I was going to give you an example of a situation like that where you say don't leave people behind. I was in D.C. a few months back to go see a game and catch up with some friends. One of my friends met me at the venue that we were going to see the game at, but she took the mass transit herself to the event, and then she was wondering if she was going to go back by herself. I said, no. After we're finished, I'm going to ride the train back with you to your stop, and then I'm going to go back to my hotel. I am not going to let you be walking out here on these streets at night. It starts in the household. I've been saying this since
You're a good guy.
Right there. Now you see where I'm going with this. My point. It takes that village to tell your children when they're young. Teach them the values in the household. Young men, take care of the women. When you're out in the streets, you walk on the opposite side of the sidewalk. Open the door. Open the car door. Don't let them be by themselves. If you know it's late and they need a call them a cab or go with them, go where they need to go, and then when they're in their place safely, then you disperse. I don't understand why this generation has not understood.
I know.
I don't
get it.
It's their parents. It's their parents. I don't blame them necessarily. They're not getting they're taught now to be like when I got in trouble in school, when they called my house, I was in trouble. When they call the house now, you have to call the family lawyer because the parents are going to say it's not their fault.
The kids are running the households now. They don't even care about going home.
Very entitled.
And home was the last place you want to be when you got in trouble. Now these kids don't care about where they get in trouble.
Yeah. Wait till your father gets home.
Oh, God.
Now they're like, who cares if he comes
home?
Don't
tell Dad.
So what, man? And they'll call DC on you now.
Yeah.
But I think I feel bad. I talk to a lot of young people, and they say that's the one thing that scares them is that they don't have anyone to trust because, like Jen was saying, their friends aren't loyal. There's no loyalty. If someone's in trouble, you bolt. Look at all these murders or unalives and all these things that go on. People will leave their friends, or they won't call 911, or they don't want to be involved, or they don't want to be seen. It's unbelievable. We were young. I remember getting beat up a couple times because my friends were in, battles, and I went and did it. I wasn't, big, and I got a couple whoopings. And I mean, it was like when I used to play a lot of basketball as a gym rat. So I went to Oakland. And I used to play with all my Oakland friends because that's where you got good. So I'm playing, and I'm hearing these pop, 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 and I'm like, gosh, there's fireworks over there. and I'm good, dumb Napa boy.
Good
with mean
Lord,
streets of Napa.
James.
And I'm looking around, and the guy goes, what are you doing? He grabs me, and there's
not fireworks.
Little drive-by over, nothing big, but I was looking for sparklers and stuff, and he's going, oh my God. And the guy goes, where? And I'll never forget the other guy goes, where the hell is he from? And where'd you get him? And he goes, he's from Napa. And he goes, oh, Lord.
Yeah.
So,
you might have been a little sheltered, James. You might have been a little sheltered.
Well, we grew up in San Francisco, so we got a little bit the thing. But then when I moved to Napa, I wasn't used to, because Oakland was insane at that time. But it was always a kind of funny. But I think the thing, and I love young people, I love youth, I love their energy, but I do feel bad for them because there's a lot of entitlement, and and I don't blame them. I blame the parenting because you got to take responsibility. I remember I got in trouble, in school, in high school. I thought it wasn't good to go to a class a couple months, but I was bored in school. It was just boring to me. So I got caught cutting, and I'll never forget my the Mr. Collins, God rest his soul. He told me, he goes, here he is. He really liked me, and he goes, I'm gonna put him on detention for 2 weeks. And my dad said, double it. So I was in detention for a month, and that was like I knew I never cut again. It was like, oh my gosh, I don't want to die at home. So but now it's like the parents. I coached at an AD, and a pastor, a very well-known pastor, had his kid at our school, rich private school, and I'll never forget. He said, you're picking on my kid. You need to leave him alone. Why did you make him go to detention? I said, Pastor, he's got a really foul mouth. My kid has never said a bad word in his life. You're just, you're this, you're that. And then in the background, out like a movie, you hear this vitriol that a trucker would blush at. The words that should never be heard. And the pastor looked back, and it was his kid. And I patted the pastor on the side of the shoulder, and I go, you have a good day, Pastor. And I just walked out. So it's just crazy with the way things. I feel bad for kids, though.
Listen, when I was a substitute teacher in Connecticut for a few years, I dealt with grammar school, elementary school kids that were using language that you just said a truck driver would blush. Like, I'm talking about 9 and 10-year-old kids using this kind of language. And I'm saying to myself, somebody in your household is teaching you these words, or it's either social media or the TV shows, because when I was in that group, I was not using that kind of language when I was young, because first and foremost, if you did, old school parents were not going to tolerate that mess.
No.
You were going to find yourself either picking yourself up off the floor, missing some teeth, or you were going to have your ears ringing from left to right, because that was the kind of discipline that we got when we were younger. That, I think, is the other issue now, folks, is that the discipline is not there anymore. What's that old saying? Spare the rod, spoil the child, and whatever that saying is. Well, that's what we're seeing a lot more of now.
Yeah.
Case in point, all these school shootings.
Yeah.
What in the world? We didn't have to worry about that when we were growing up. We had fire drills. When I was sub teaching, now we have to do lockdown drills. It's like, where are we going with this?
Sandy Hook changed everything.
Yeah.
What happened
But let's go back a little further than that. It was Columbine. Columbine is where it started.
Yeah.
Remember, it happened here in Colorado in 1999. That's where it all started.
Yeah.
It just snowballed from there, though.
And did you hear the story of the parent His kid was having emotional problems. I can't believe this guy. His kid was having emotional problems, and he was threatening kids at school. Then he threatened to hurt kids at school. So the authorities are saying, your kid needs help. He's really a mess, and this is not good. So what does the father do instead of get him counseling? He buys him an AR-15. So what does the kid do? He goes and offs a couple teachers and a couple students. And the court, for the first time, is going to send him to jail. And I think that's what it's going to take, is start putting parents in jail, because, boy, I don't want any relative of mine hurt because of stupidity like that. You don't give people that have mental illness, and I know I don't want to get everybody has the right to get a gun, but I don't want an automatic weapon into someone that's threatening kids. I mean, that's just crazy to me.
Some things should just never happen in this respect, and that all comes down to just being simple logic. It's just like, you know what's going to happen if you do that. That shouldn't be worth even having a second guess what could happen in that scenario.
Now, before we get into our last story, I wanted to give a huge shout out to Braylon. We've been bringing her up in some of the shows, and we've asked you to pray. She has brain cancer and was in a pretty intense stuff, and she's doing very well. She even got accepted at Clemson. Nice. This girl is just a star. She's very smart, sweet, kind, beautiful, wonderful. Braylon, did I get all those words right? But she's an amazing young lady, and so is her family, and they've been thanking all of you for all the kind words. And if you are a prayerful person, if you could send up some prayers for her and anyone else that's struggling out there, because there's a lot of special people that we see on Twitter and online that are struggling. And to all you people that have lost your pets, gosh dang, just heartbreaking. I'm so sad to look at it. And I just want to give you all our love, and we know we've been there, and we just want to give you all the support. And all dogs do go to heaven, so make sure you remember that. And cats too.
Cats too.
Mr. Fingers, we have to give
Thumbs,
love.
Thumbs.
Mr. Thumbs. Mr. Thumbs, we have to give love to all our cat friends. I once did a pro dog post, and I counted them over 450 posts that I hated cats. So, oh my God, I couldn't. I go,
just
God,
love animals. That's all. You love all animals.
I said, wow, don't hurt dogs, protect dogs. And someone, he hates cats. Now everybody starts attacking me. So the love and joy of social media.
Of our family pets, yes.
Now, the last thing I wanted to talk about is that there's a lot of restaurants that are leaving us, sadly. And I think of the movie Demolition Man, where the only restaurant that was left with the restaurant wars was Taco Bell. And that's my nightmare. But is there a restaurant that doesn't exist now that you guys loved when you were kids? And I'll let you start off, Michael.
Roy Rogers. Remember that place? Remember Roy Rogers?
I've heard of it.
Well, this must be an East Coast thing, because I remember growing up, there was one right by my old house where I grew up in New Jersey. It was a great place for good old fried chicken. I think they had the best fried chicken before the days of Popeyes and Raising Cane's and KFC and these other chicken joints. I mean, Roy Rogers was one of my favorite places I went to because I loved their fried chicken. It was so good. And there's probably maybe a handful left in this country to begin with. Maybe they're all on the East Coast, but that was one place I remember going to that I really enjoyed and I do miss. Look around and eat fried chicken at Roy Rogers. Look it up. They'll tell you. Fried chicken.
I'm going to look it up tonight. So
people out
I'm going to look it up tonight.
You got to be East Coast to know with Roy Rogers, though. It was an actual chain out here in the in the 80s and into the 90s, but around the mid 90s they started to dwindle off because these other chains that you see I just mentioned now have taken over. So everybody else is kind of getting pushed to the wayside.
Jen, what about you?
When I was growing up, we had Howard Johnson's, which was a family run, and it was burgers. It was like the best food, and they always had the best homemade ice cream. They always had the best. They had that ice cream counter when you first go in. And
I
so there was
loved
one.
Howard Johnson.
Howard Johnson's was the best growing up, and and they had the roof, that orange roof, that
Yes.
pitched roof that made them famous. So you drive down the highway, you'd always be able to find one. And yeah, they don't have those around anymore. And the other one I remember was when Jack in the Box first came close to, first up on the East Coast somewhere near us. Went to one of those. It was like the first place I remember getting like really the toys for kids. I know McDonald's had them, but I
yeah.
feel like the Happy Meal thing came later. I feel like Jack in the Box had it first, and neither one of those is around. But Howard Johnson's the ice cream alone was just the best.
Oh, I
I got
loved
another
Howard
one for you
Johnson.
too. I got another one for you too. Remember Shoney's?
Yeah,
No, I don't
I've
remember
heard
that
of
one.
it. I've never eaten at it.
Southern chain, but that was like the other coming of Denny's in the South called Shoney's.
Yep.
Wow.
And A&W root beer. They used to have the A&W root beer
Yes.
float places. You could go in and get burgers. You get your A&W root beer.
We have
float.
one out here where I live here in Greeley. We have one right
Yeah.
up the street from where I work.
Yeah, there
Really?
isn't very many left. There's nothing up here on the East Coast for
It's
them.
actually connected to a KFC, the one over here by me. A&W it's A&W and KFC in the same building.
Wow. And
Wow.
you know about the for about 10 years Howard Johnson was the #1 restaurant in the United States.
Oh, that
And
was bad.
there was a famous person that was asked to be the president's chef, and he denied being the president's chef so he could be the GM at Howard Johnson, and his name was Jacques Pepin.
Yes, I remember
Jacques,
that story.
Jacques Pepin invented the lobster roll that they became so famous
Yeah.
for, and they served it in Maine and other areas.
I
but
loved Howard
can you
Johnson.
imagine Jacques Pepin just tells the
hilarious.
president, "Nah,
No thanks."
No, thank
it was
you.
President Kennedy too. President Kennedy asked him to be the chef, and he goes, "I'm gonna go do Howard."
That's a lot of
Johnson."
pressure to be the chef for the president anyway. Those all
It
these
must be.
diplomats. It's so
Gotta be-
stressful.
It's
gotta make sure you have
boring,
to
too.
bring some food, testing the food and all that
Yeah.
stuff.
No way. I wouldn't
He
want that
said it
job
would have
either.
been boring. He
Yeah.
just, it's 11 at night, make him a pie or something.
Yeah.
He said, he'd rather, and he changed the way fast food made. Howard Johnson was an empire, and then he left, and then they changed the food and made it,
Yeah, and
not
it became
as good.
corporate, I think, like in the
Very.
90s before they went out. Once you get like that, once you get street money in there, you get the private
Yeah.
equity guys that go in there, they beat it to the ground and then they sell it off for parts. It's like it's never a good sign whenever your retailer or your restaurant gets private equity money in their business. It's just, as the
Anything,
sign's
anything
going
really.
down.
What's yours, Florence?
My favorite place, which is like, in a way, like a Howard Johnson's, was Friendly's. Because you could get
Oh.
lunch, dinner, breakfast, and amazing
Yes.
ice cream. And sadly, they were here in our area in Connecticut. We used to go there on a regular basis. I'm talking like weekly as kids. It was one of our favorite places. Unfortunately, that location went away years ago and they never replaced it. I don't know if there's any more in Connecticut, but I will say we did do a collaboration with them on their 100th anniversary. They reached out to us and asked James and I if we would do some marketing for them. And they sent us a lot of merch. We got a lot of Friendly's merch. But I will say, growing up, it was one of my favorite places
Yeah.
because the food was delicious. You could get great ice cream. They always had all these different ice cream sundaes that you can get. They even had one of those machines with the claw where you could pick up the
Yeah.
toys. Remember those? And,
Yep.
oh, I loved Friendly's. I was so sad when it went away because I was like, oh, that was part of my childhood. But again, well, I guess, things come full circle. When they reached out to us and asked us to do a collaboration with them, that was a big deal to me because it was part of my childhood.
Yeah.
I loved it. But Howard Johnson's, I will say,
Yeah.
Loved it.
As a kid,
Close
like
second.
as a kid, yeah, like
As a
in the
kid.
80s, like as a kid,
Yes.
that was the
Oh.
best. But it was funny.
Loved
There was
it.
a Friendly's right around the corner from our house when we first moved here, which was only 10 years ago. It might have been the last one left in the state.
yeah.
And you couldn't go in there, like, parents would have their kids in there at lunchtime on a Saturday. You couldn't get near the place. It was still
Yeah.
packed from beginning to end, and yet it's still closed. Now it's a Starbucks. It's just like, that's what
Yeah,
we need.
they
Another
closed
Starbucks
those
in
too.
another corner.
Yeah, it was sad when it went away.
That's why when we were in California, when I'm home, it's literally about 5 miles away, and I'd eat there once a year at least. And like you said, it was packed. Now
Yeah.
my restaurant, had a jingle that became very famous. Is Chicken Delight, and their thing was "Don't cook tonight, call Chicken Delight," and it became a big thing. And they sold fried chicken and they sold pizzas. So and corn and all that stuff. So what we would do, my father worked nights, so we would every other Saturday night we'd get Chicken Delight and we'd watch horror movies on Channel 2. So I love, we get the chicken dinners and then we'd get a side pizza, but Chicken Delight. And when the driver came, they had a chicken that was flopping to the side like that. Great chicken. There's, I think, one in the United States left, which is kind of sad. But
I got news for you, Florence, by the way. I just did a little bit of research here. The journalist side of myself just did some research. And there's 10 friendlies in Connecticut right now. There's 10.
Wow.
Are there? Because our local one, the one I grew up going to, disappeared. But I always wondered if there were any more in the state.
There's a handful in Connecticut. I just did a search. There's about 10 of them right now in Connecticut still open.
Wow.
Wow.
So you can still go to friendly somewhere in Connecticut. There's a bunch of them out there.
I used to
Relive
miss
your childhood.
I don't know if you guys ever went.
Thank you.
I love Shakey's Pizza. That was a fun place. We used to go there after baseball. I don't even know if they have any more Shakey or Straw Hat Pizza too. We used to go there and they would play black and white movies 24 hours. So you go
They must
in there.
have been West Coast.
Yeah, it was really, really fun place for all the things. And some other people talked about what Swenson's, the ice cream place. It was, I don't know if it was just the West Coast. They had the best ice cream, but you had to wait forever because it was always packed.
That's
but I used. Yeah, I don't know if you guys ever remember that, but it's sad. And all the Big Boys. Big Boys was our huge treat when we went to Tahoe all the time. We used to get, and my parents would let me eat whatever I want. So I used to get the double Big Boy, and I'd get the brownie pie.
Wow.
I miss all the old restaurants.
I remember going to Pizzeria Uno. I don't know if there's still Unos around.
Oh, we have a few of those out here. There's a few Unos out here. They're spread out. They're also very spacey right now. But they're out here.
Yeah, we just had the one closest to us closed not that long ago. The one closest to us just closed. So, and Fridays is like franchised now. Fridays is like franchise. They cut off, and so they have corporate, and now they have like a franchising group within it. So it's like the Fridays and their house is not the corporate one; it's the franchise one. So the menu's like slightly different. So Fridays is another weird one.
Look at the Fridays, James.
Never.
Dude,
you
gotta go check out Fridays, man.
Yes.
We'll have to go there.
Yeah.
I do like the Cheesecake Factory, even though I don't like cheesecake.
Oh,
I like their other desserts, but
that's better food. That's better food. Cheesecake Factory is better food than Fridays.
Carrot cake is the best carrot cake at Cheesecake Factory. Carrot cake hands down.
Oh yeah, that's what I love their carrot cake.
What about Cracker Barrel? We
have
Cracker Barrel's really good.
We also did a collaboration with them too.
We have a Cracker Barrel.
Thank you, Cracker Barrel.
Yeah, thank you, Cracker Barrel.
They give us some free meals, so
they're coming back now after their disastrous. We're gonna make over the store.
Oh.
Yeah, people did not like that.
That doesn't make any sense. Like, why are you changing the logo? Leave that logo alone.
Yeah, you just
leave Uncle whatever.
You could have changed the inside. You could have made the tables a little more updated or whatever without changing the sign. The sign was what got them in trouble, not the decor.
Yes.
And people, they don't realize. Yeah, don't you guys? They don't real like the worst thing I ever thought they redid was New Coke. That was disgusting.
Oh yeah, what are they doing? Like you're reinventing the Coke wheel now? Like what? Wait, you put more sugar on top of sugar now?
I feel like they tried to make it taste more like Pepsi because Pepsi was beating them at that time. I feel like they were like, how do we get closer to Pepsi because we're losing? And they didn't realize that it was so much more than just the taste, like that it was ingrained in the culture.
No, I like RC Cola.
I love RC Cola. Are you kidding me?
Do they still make that?
Yes,
they still make
do.
Yeah.
I bought some from the store the other day actually out here. I was like, oh, they have RC Cola in that 6-liter bottle.
I saw Tab in the store the other day. Tab, and I was like, oh my goodness.
My mom drank Tab.
My dad drank Tab all the time. It was all the time. That and Pepsi Light. When they used to make the Diet Pepsi with lemon in it, I loved Pepsi Light.
Who remembers the crystal clear Pepsi? Who remembers that?
I do.
No, I remember that too.
Remember that.
It was like it was a version of. It looked like a Sprite, but it was actually a crystal clear Pepsi. They actually made the color of the Pepsi look like it was a Sprite, but it tasted like a Pepsi. It was popular.
And remember, Tab was geared to young moms.
Yeah.
They could keep them skinny.
Remember the
It
commercial?
was a
Yeah.
female version of Pepsi for them, right? It was like the female. It was like the official female soft drink for women.
It was like the earlier versions of Tab had a little bit something like Dexatrim in it, so it was like more than just diet. There was something in there that was
Well,
supposed
that's
to
why
keep
the
them from
label
eating.
was pink. Remember, the bottle was always pink color. That was the reason why
Yeah.
for women it was pink.
Yes.
And remember, it had the aspartame or something in it
Oh,
that
yeah.
it literally tasted. It was so
The
much in it,
NutraSweet,
it
the
tasted
NutraSweet they had in
sour.
it.
The
Yeah.
the
NutraSweet.
aftertaste. Oh, that was just the most disgusting. My mom, she would get it because she knew us kids hated it, so we wouldn't drink it. Because
Yeah,
if she got
yeah.
Diet Coke, we'd all suck it down. I love Dr. Pepper. That's my favorite.
You can never go wrong with Dr. Pepper now.
Diet cherry Dr. Pepper, which is hard to find. I believe In-N-Out has it, so I get it all the
They
time
do.
over there. But
All these West Coast chains have all this stuff now. What is going on?
that's the drink, man. Oh, In-N-Out. Oh, God. But
Oh.
yeah, it's sad that you see a lot of the old things. Like when we were of age, we would drink Old English, and we would drink stuff like that. And now if you drink, or Mickey's Big Mouth, beer like that, which is called skunk beer, now people would look at it and say, oh my, that's just disgusting. But we loved all that stuff. It's sad to see progress. I hate progress. Go back to the other stuff.
Yeah. And you know what? They're trying to slowly bring some of this stuff back. They have like the throwback Gatorades now. Remember, they have the plastic Gatorade look to them now. It's like, okay, they're trying to bring some of that old school stuff back, but unfortunately, this generation is like, what's that? I said, this is what Gatorade was before your Gatorade came out. This is how we used to drink Gatorade. With this
I loved original Gator. Well, the wellness, now they think everything, you're allergic to everything, we're all dehydrated at all times. We all have messed up colons. We have 40 pounds of meat. None of that's true, but it's just so funny that everything's so over the board health. It's okay to do things in moderation. It's okay to have a diet Dr. Pepper once in a while. You're not going to die, but the thing is
we're all gonna die, James. Just not a diet Dr. Pepper.
Yeah,
that's what we'll be doing. A lot of
and you guys, I'm telling you, the candies is the ones I miss. The old candies, we were talking about the Hostess pies and how good they used to be. And I really miss a lot of that stuff. Shrinkflation has screwed everything up.
But it's also chemicals now, not when we were kids. Like the pie was pie. Like when you got
this stuff with all kinds of crap that we don't.
Like, once they started filling it with junk, it wasn't something you want to eat.
Right? Like, what is this?
Yeah.
And you can't. And you. It was interesting. There was a guy that had a berry pie from Hostess, and he found one in his parents passed away, and he found one in this crypt. His father liked berry pies, so he looked at the ingredients and looked at the new one, and it had like berries, sugar, something else, and pie crust. And now the new one has dextrose, fibroflava, all this stuff, and you're like, what the heck?
Yeah,
everything
pie.
only have like 3 ingredients, now it went to 30.
Yeah.
I've always said, if you can't pronounce what it is, then you really shouldn't be drinking or eating it. Said.
And when did we get so creative with the word sugar? Because all of those are some form of sugar spiced up with a chemical, and it's like, just call sugar. You don't need to call it dextrose, inglate, and you don't need to have 30 different names.
Trying to
hide
sugar. Well, the new one, high fructose corn syrup.
Corn syrup, like just call it sugar. That's what it is. Like when we consume it.
Yeah, sugar. It reminds me of. It cracks me up in the 70s. Don't eat meat. Eat only carbohydrates. In the 80s, you did whatever you wanted. But 90s, you get a little bit more healthy. Now it's all don't eat carbohydrates. Eat proteins, and then use saturated fats that increase your LDLs and your cholesterol. I mean, the coconut oil craze was the most insane craze I've ever seen. That is the worst oil to cook in and to use. And people are paying $10, $20 for a little thing to cook in saturated fat that makes you sicker. I mean, it's just unbelievable.
It's no different than the 90s was all no fat.
Yeah.
Can't have anything fat. Everything had to be skim. Everything. They took all the fat out and replaced it with chemicals and sugar. Like, no wonder
Yeah,
we're all sick
it's like
now.
gluten. If you go
Yeah.
to the allergy
Yeah.
things, gluten is not an allergy unless you have
Right.
Crohn's disease.
Right.
But
Right.
but in the first year they did it, they made over $1 billion. So
Oh,
now
yeah.
it's a $15 billion industry.
It's out of control
And
now.
I watched The King of Queens, and Doug was given some bread, and he said, he goes, what's wrong with this bread? And he says, it's anti-gluten. He said, well, is it missing something? And he said, yeah, gluten. I need gluten. So yeah.
I remember the Snackwells. The Snackwells cookies came out. There was no
Oh.
fat.
That's
And everyone was
right.
like, oh, these are great. You're eating the whole thing. You're in the bathroom for 18 hours later afterwards. Because
I
the thing
used
is
to buy those.
filled with chemicals
those
and
as well,
sugar
yeah.
and stuff that was all laced with stuff that like shouldn't be going through your stomach. It was like, yeah, no wonder they tasted good. They just had a pound of sugar in them. They just took the
Yes.
fat out. It's
Yeah,
like,
it serves its
okay,
purpose
well,
of cleaning you out, though.
yeah.
Oh,
But I was
yeah.
just like,
Oh, yeah.
once you swallow it, it becomes sugar. Just because it's still gonna be
But
the
I
same
think
thing.
I think that's why we love all the old things of our childhood. To me,
Yeah.
someone said, "What is the most memorable times?" It was sitting there with my grandma eating something she made her. My mom made the best
Yeah.
German chocolate cake, and nothing could solve problems of life than just sitting there with your mom
I
eating
know.
a cake with a big glass of milk. You know, it just
Yeah.
cured everything. And today you don't have that kind of closeness anymore. Everybody's on their phones.
That's what they're doing now. They're on their phones more than anything else now. You know what they're doing on their phones? They're ordering their food now.
Yes.
Ordering
They're ordering the
DoorDash.
chocolate cake. The door dashing chocolate cake.
DoorDash and Uber Dash and Uber Eats now. That's the new thing now. That's what they do now. They have these things delivered right to their own doorstep. You don't need to get out to the store
Yeah,
anymore.
no one's
It's
cooking.
at your house.
No one's cooking. No one knows how to bake a
Nobody's cooking now.
chocolate
It's all
cake.
being delivered now. Yep.
Oh,
All
I,
meals
I,
and stuff, they give it to you right at your doorstep now. Yep.
I was at a friend's house and we didn't have ice or something, and he all of a sudden it came and I looked at the bill. He had spent $12 to get a bag of ice, and then
Oh.
he's telling me I'm broke all the time. Can I borrow some money? I'm like, what the heck? You just spent $12 on a little bag of ice.
Yeah.
We need to
yeah.
talk about your finances
Jeez.
first before you borrow
Yeah.
money.
Or go to the gas station and buy a little bag of ice for like $2-3 or something.
Yeah.
It's not the gas.
Well, I think that's a little bit. We become a real lazy society where we want everything done that way. But to be honest with you, if we were kids, I don't know how you guys were, but if we had phones at all times, we were horrible just with house phones. But if we had phones, oh my gosh.
We wouldn't survive. We wouldn't have made it. I don't think. If we had phones back in the day, we probably wouldn't have been able to survive.
Nope.
Too many distractions
Nope.
would have been killing us. Nope.
Yep.
Get off the phone, James. Dad, I just want. You've been in there for 5 minutes. Get off the phone.
It used to turn the TV off. You watch too much TV or turn the video games off. Now it's turn the phones off and put the phones away because that's the new distraction. There's
I
always
used to hate
distraction generation.
I used to hate Saturdays because my parents would it would be like 11. I'd watch my cartoons. I'd get my cereal. You need to go out and get some
Outside. Go outside.
fresh air.
Go ride your bike.
Outside,
Go
man,
ride
it's
your
a
bike.
What are you doing? And then they sit down and relax. They're probably thinking, oh, God, we finally got rid of them.
Yeah, we finally got rid of them.
Right, and
Oh
then
my
they're sitting in the
God.
house chilling out now after they I need to relax and just veg out now. Like it's okay. Yeah.
They're smart. But now that we sound like we're about 90 years old, and we've roasted
Throwback Thursday
we've
now, right?
roasted,
Yep.
we've roasted 2 generations. But we love you, young people. You're good people. But like I said, it's we do appreciate you guys coming on. We had a lot of fun, and we're
Yes.
definitely going to have Michael on again. He's a blast. And please, we're going to share all his stuff. Go check out. He's a great show, and he's just really a breath of fresh air on the air. And we were attracted to him right away. And he looks 30.
Yes.
So
You know, I will take that as a compliment of the day because I have been told that many times. It's this baby face. That's what it is.
you look great. So, and then
45. I'll
Jen.
be on my age. 45 I'll be this year. There you go.
in 2 weeks, we have a very special thing for our writers and for our podcasters. We are literally going to have Alan on, one of my favorite people in the world, Jen's, and it just happens to be Jen's husband. We're going to have Alan on, and we are going to talk about, we're going to drink some wine, we're going to have a little snackage, and we're going to talk about how to set up for a show, small signings, and then we're going to also talk about going to a convention, which she is going to in April, in May, which we can't wait. And we can't wait. So we're literally going to give you step by step on how she does it. Hers are so successful. She sold out many of her things. And make sure you guys go to her website, jailrothstein.com, and get the Heaven Sent series. Start out with Atonement, wherever books are sold, especially on Amazon. So it's Atonement, the Heaven Sent series. Please get that. We want to get some sales up for that, because I'm telling you, once you guys read that, you're going to be addicted. And you don't have to wait for the books, because the other two follow.
Yep.
See how we get that segue thingy? So get Atonement, though. Start it off. Once you read it, you'll be begging for the second and third one. So we can't wait.
Well, thank you very much for that.
Yes, Michael, we'll give you the last word. What do you have before Florence closes it? What do you have for us?
Hey, I'm a college hoops guy. It's Sweet 16 weekend now out here, and I'm actually excited about that. It's a big sports weekend out here in Colorado. Our women's pro soccer team had their debut this week. They have their home opener on Saturday, which I'm going to. It's a fun time to be a part of this culture out here in Colorado with the sports, because all the teams are playing well. And we're just hoping to see some parades around here come the spring, because we're playing well enough that they can beat these other teams. So I like to be a part of these, part of being a journalist is being part of all these memorable moments. So I hope to be a part of them as we get closer to the end of the spring season here. We'll see.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much. We want to thank everybody for joining us today. And again, thank you to Michael Lyle Jr. and J.L. Rothstein, and all of you for tuning in. We couldn't thank you enough, and we hope everybody has a great Thursday night.
Take care. Thank you
Thanks,
so
guys.
much. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Later.